Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the kitchen gaming for XP. How are you? Thank you so much for the views on the last cooking video we did. I am just amazed that you enjoyed that one. So guys, given that you've done such a great job and you supported me, I'm going to do another one. Yes, welcome to cooking from stew, but cooking with stew in a different way, because we're cooking in a kilt today. As you can see, I've got my wee Badger handbag here. Hope you're going to enjoy this one, guys. This one is very family orientated. This is for about a family of 4 around. Very simple recipe, one that you can vary up, and I hope with the sausages recipe that you also made some variations of that. I know with a few comments you said you were going to do some variations. I'd love to understand what variations you've done with that recipe, and if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link up above a bit now so that you can watch that one. So let's get into the kitchen and let's get into cooking with stew. So here is the ingredients for today's recipe. As you would see, there is a omission today. There is no recipe in, really. I have got a recipe for this, so I'm going to have to come up with one so that you guys can follow along. But this is really one of those recipes that you can just throw together and it'll come out yummy. But I'll take you through what we've got. So we have some yummy bacon, a couple of onions here, some chicken breast, some cheese, grated cheese, some pasta, penne San Remo pasta. I've got chicken tonight, honey and mustard sauce, and some garlic granules. You can use fresh garlic if you like, and that's about all we need. It's a very simple recipe, and I'll cut and give you the recipe probably about now. So here's the recipe as best I can kind of come up with. So stew is a cheesy pasta, 500 grams of chicken breast, about 2 medium-sized onions, 4 to 6 rashers of bacon, some shredded cheese. I used about 600 grams. I probably used about half of that, so about 300 grams of cheese. And you can make whatever cheese you like. Honey mustard sauce, you can change that as you like it. Penne pasta, and some garlic, and garlic's optional. So you can see I've got a fairly big piece of chicken to work with here. I don't think you need quite this much, probably about half of this, but we do use the chicken for other stuff, so I'll be cooking various things with this. So I'm just going to dice this up. My onions are already diced, as you can see in the background. I did use the little Duvalacker chopper that everybody likes from last week. Thanks so much for all your comments last week and your tips on cooking. I'm not a chef, and don't purport to be a chef. I'm not a professional cook, so any tips you can give me, especially the ones about cutting onions and whatnot, I readily accept if it makes life easier. I'm all about the simple life, certainly for me, for my cooking. I just love cooking though, so I just get in and do it. And I know that I know, Brian, you don't like this cooking chopping board, but it's what I've got to work with, so that's what I'll work with. So I've changed my knife this week just to satisfy things, and it actually works out much easier. Now, you can buy chicken already pre-diced in the supermarket, and that's one way of doing this. We prefer to get it from the butcher fresh, or the deli or wherever, and just chop it up ourselves, because that's what we do. So here we go. We've chopped up the onions, the chicken at the back there. I also dice up my bacon and the garlic, and we're about to put this into the frying pan and start a little bit of cooking. So here we go. I'm just warm the pan up. I like to cook with olive oil, so I'm going to coat the pan with a little bit of olive oil, and this is a pretty easy process. Get the pan reasonably hot though before you start cooking, and I'm going to start with the onions and the garlic. We'll just wait until the pan gets a bit warm, and then we're going to chuck these in. Now, like I said before, you can use You can use fresh garlic if you want, and I'd encourage you to use fresh ingredients wherever you can. I'm just using garlic granules or garlic powder today just for convenience, and it's just going to impart a little bit of flavour. In fact, I'm not going to put it, usually what I'll do is if I have granules I'll stick them in the pan here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sprinkle the garlic powder over this once I get it all done. So we're just going to dump the onions in like this, and we're just going to cook them up. Now while we're doing this, I'm going to go and get our receptacle for putting all this in. I love the smell of cooking onions. So, excuse the noise. There we go. And really you just want to brown these up, not much more. You might try, this is a little bit experimental, but I'm going to try a little bit of this garlic powder in there and just see. I do like my garlic, so I'm oh, that smells great. In with your onions. You can almost smell that, can't you? So you can see that they're going translucent already, and that's what you want. Don't want to overcook anything about to show you, because we are going to put all this in the oven for a little bit of time. So you don't want them overly browned, you just want them taking a little bit of that colour, just that kind of yellowy colour. Just like that. There's some big bits of onion in there. I'm not really fussed about that. It's really not going to change the smell or the taste of the dish. I'm getting pretty close there. Oh, it smells wonderful. I love olive oil because it just, I don't know, olive oil just gives a little bit of taste. I know it's very good for you as well. So that's about the consistency you need to get your onions to, if you can see that, hopefully, yep. So we're going to take that off the heat, and we're just going to dump that. We're just going to dump that in here. No, I'll dump it in and show you. So you can see I've just dumped the onions in the little and this is the baking dish from last time. So we're reusing a few things from last time. So back to the frying pan, cleaned it up, put a little bit of olive oil in it, and well, now we're just going to dump the chicken in, just like this. Now I have diced the chicken quite fine. That's been done deliberately so that it cooks nice and quickly, and also cooks through. Now you've got to be very careful cooking chicken. Make sure that you do it thoroughly. For this recipe there is a second cooking stage, so you don't want to overcook it at this point, but you want to make sure it's cooked enough so that in the second stage that it does get fully cooked through, if that makes sense. You don't want uncooked chicken. Now you can buy this at the supermarket diced. if it saves you time. Like I said earlier, I prefer to do it this way. And we're just going to cook those up. I'll probably come back once it's all kind of getting close, but you can see very quickly that's coming through now. I did clean the pan off after the last one. You don't have to do that, but I think it's important. In the same way when you're cutting things up, chopping things up, that is very important that you don't cross-contaminate. So make sure that you're cleaning your chopping board off between all that ingredients. See, there is a little bit of water there, a little bit of liquid coming out. You want to drain that once we get this kind of cooked up. So just turn it over, cook them up until they're all they end up with that white colour. That's settling down now near the temperature. That's really dropped a lot. With the odd ones, I just kind of use the tongs just to make sure that we get that all nicely cooked. So you want to kind of retain some of the moisture in the chicken. And that's getting pretty close there. You don't want, if it starts browning, you take it off. There we go, like that. And pretty close. Wonderful. You can smell that, it's beautiful. Nothing better than being in the kitchen. So that's getting pretty close. I'm giving it a little bit longer just to make sure that's cooked through, and yeah, we're good. So I'm going to drain this and then tip it into the baking tin. And the last one, just dump the bacon in. This will not take long at all. Like that. Now I tend to lightly do my bacon. I don't want to overcook my bacon at this point. But just give it light cooking. One of the things that you can do is you can actually cook the rashers and then let them cool and chop them up later. Up to you which way you want to do this around. It really doesn't matter that much. Just make sure that it's reasonably cooked. Again, you could use ham, all kinds of stuff, and there's all kinds of variations that you can do in this recipe. We have actually tried a couple, and we haven't been disappointed. No, you don't have to have chicken and bacon. You don't have to have the onions in there for that. Up to you, what your preference is. It is a real simple, quick recipe, and that's what I like about it. And it tastes delicious, take my word for it. So there's a lot more involved in this recipe today, but you won't, like I said, you won't be disappointed. Okay, we're getting pretty close. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. You can see it's got a bit of brown on it, so we're going to dump that in the bowl. And so you can see I've tipped that all into the baking tin. I'm going to cover that with foil for now because we got to do the next step. You would normally do all these steps together, and I'll come back in a sec. So of course I forgot to put my my pasta in. So this is actually a bigger pan than I usually use. I just went to grab my cooking pot and realised, yeah, it's in the dishwasher, so that's alright, I'll just use this one. You could do that, you know, you would have your pasta running while you're cooking all your chicken and your onions and stuff. I forgot, so I'm going to do that and we'll come back in a second. Okay, so pasta is cooked. All you have to do now is just tip it in. Hopefully with the right hand. Excuse me. Tip your pasta in like this. That's it. We're good. Jeez, there's a lot of pasta. That's okay, that's fine. We can deal with it. Again, the amount of ingredients you're going to need for this dish is going to vary depending on how big your serving dish is, how big the family is, all that good stuff. We will not put that in because it's hit the table. And finally, all we have to do is then mix it up, and to do that we will get our honey mustard. There we go. There it is there. So you can see it. Yep. And we're just going to tip this across the top like this and then blend it in. Make sure you get it all that, and we're just going to blend it in. So I decided to go to a different cooking dish because the last one frankly wasn't big enough. So all you have to do now is just blend this in like this, make sure the sauce is incorporated in the whole lot, and you distribute all the chicken and the bacon and the onions around, you know, and just give it a good old stir through so that you can make sure that it is nicely blended and that sauce is nicely incorporated. And then once you've done that, try and smooth it out like this. There we go. And then we'll put some tin foil over it. We'll put it in the fridge, and this is a recipe really that there is a little bit more prep to be done on this one compared to the sausages, but the prep work's all that you really have to do. The next stage is just basically to whop it in the oven and let it cook, which we'll cover in a bit. But you know, it's not that hard. The prep's probably about between 10 and 20 minutes long, just depending on the ingredients you're using. You know, if you did what I did today with the chicken, you are going to have to take a little bit longer to dice up the chicken and cook it and whatnot. But apart from that, we'll see in a minute when it's ready for the cooking phase. So just before we chuck it in the oven, here we go, we just pulled out the fridge. We're going to do one last thing, and this is what really makes it yummy, yummy, yummy. So we're going to go and grab some grated cheese, and we're going to smother this in cheese. Make sure your oven's preheated and make sure it's up to temp. Very important that it, ooh, bit of a camera shake. It's very important that it's up to temperature before you throw this in. And so we're just going to get that lovely cheese in. We're just going to chuck it all over, and you can't see a thing now, but that's alright. There we go. Spread it out, make sure it's nice and even. And the type of cheese you use is up to you. You can use whatever you like. This is a good old strong tasty cheddar that I've used, but you can use whatever you like, whatever is available to you. And of course you don't have to buy it at the store, you can self-grate it if you like and all that good stuff. So chucked it in the oven, and lo and behold, here's what's going to happen once you've cooked it, once you've gone through and cooked it for about 35 to 40 minutes. What I'd advise you to do is cook it until it's golden brown on top, and that's how it should come out the oven. Beautiful. You can see some of the looking nice and crispy and yummy, and cheese is all melted off, and oh, wonderful. And pretty much I just serve it up. I'll put it in a bowl. You can do whatever. You can put in a plate. Yeah, serving suggestions. I like to eat it as it is. You could maybe get some garlic bread or something like that, but if not, it should look like that. And we're going, as we zoom in, thank you for joining us on Cooking with Stu. It was real fun to make this one. This is a nice dish as we zoom in and refocus. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you try it at home, please let me know how you go and any variants you do. And thanks for joining us on Gaming for XP. See ya.